Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day so far. I wanted to go over the week one assignment and also provide you an overview of how each assignment each week builds upon each other, and ultimately your final assignment will be your revisions that you make to your weeks 1 through 4 assignment. So just wanted to give you that understanding because it's vitally important that we get down your standard and three measurable learning objectives, because those will basically drive the direction of the rest of your assignments. So we need to have those down solid because in utilizing the backwards design model, we start with the standard and learning objectives, and then from that we develop our assessments. And just note that we are not at any point developing a lesson plan. Obviously, because the focus of this particular course is on assessments, but all we're doing here is developing selecting a standard, developing learning objectives, and then from those developing your assessments. And again, that is the steps required for the backward design model. So the other thing is that each assignment has a template that further guides you. So be sure that you access that information as well. So here is your week 1 template. Just make sure you include the information that's needed, but everything else APA format-wise is already done for you in terms of your heading. Just be sure these little green buttons or boxes, they are hints and tips, additional hints and tips. And some might actually have links to the Writing Center that might further help you. But before you submit any assignment, make sure that these green boxes are deleted from your paper. Now, for this week 1 assignment, it is rather simple. All you're doing is selecting a standard and your 3 measurable, or developing your 3 measurable learning objectives. So the very first thing that you're going to do is highlight your path. So if you're pre-K or elementary, you'll choose this. 7 through 12 is middle or high school. If you're in corporate training, military training, or healthcare trainer, you'll highlight one of those if that's more applicable to you in terms of your career. And then the last one is if none of these apply to what your focus is on, just type it here. But again, education or teaching has always been basically something that you would consider only teachers do in elementary schools or middle schools, high schools. But we see teaching happening everywhere in corporate training, military training, and if you're a healthcare trainer as well. So just want you to know that it's just not limited to elementary. The first thing you're going to do is select the name of your standard. It may be the Common Core standard. Not all states follow the Common Core. So if you're using that, that's only for math and English language arts. Science and social studies, you may follow your state standard. Again, if you live in a state, I know Virginia's one that does not follow the Common Core in any way. You can just select one of your state standards. Now, if you're a music teacher or want to be an art teacher, you can select those types of standards that are aligned for that as well. So then you're going to tell me the content area, your grade or audience, and then your standard. And then you will go ahead and develop your 3 measurable learning objectives. They must include 3 different levels of Bloom's taxonomy, and I'll go over that in just a minute. Be sure to highlight the measurable terms used in your objectives, and then at the end of your learning objective, in parentheses, you're going to list the Bloom's taxonomy cognitive domain that each of your learning objectives address. And again, I will go over that, and there is a week 1 in the week 1 weekly lesson. There is another exemplar. So I will show you that as well. And then just again, make sure you delete any of the italicized words that are just extra verbiage to provide you guidance before you submit your assignment. So going back to the weekly 1 lesson, the way to access that, If you start on the home page and you scroll down, you will see the weekly lesson, and that's in every week. Go ahead and click on that, and it will bring you here, and it'll give you an overview of the week, and then it'll go into more detail about the learning activities. So it'll discuss more about your discussions as well as your assignment. So be sure to go back to the week 1 weekly lesson. You're going to be using this Bloom's wheel, which is right here. And the way that this is set up is that, according to Bloom, there is 6 levels of cognitive thinking, starting at remembering and going all the way to creating. And so basically, the levels of thinking become more challenging as you go around this circle. The area in the middle are your measurable terms that you're going to be using within your learning objectives. And then the outside of the circle provides some activities that you might implement based on that cognitive level. So hopefully that helps explain what this wheel is. And then in the weekly lesson, there's this great video right here using Bloom's taxonomy to write learning objectives. It actually walks you through the process of using Bloom's wheel to write your learning objectives. So be sure to watch that because that will help you as well. And then I did provide another exemplar here. I was a 4th and 5th grade elementary school teacher, and I loved teaching science. So you'll kind of see a theme here. But I selected a science standard, and here are my 3 learning objectives. I've bolded, in this case, the measurable terms, and then you can see what cognitive level each one is based on the terms that I've used. So if we look at design, and I go back to Bloom's, and I look at, let's see, design right here, that falls under creating. So that's where I got that. But going back to the, let's see, the template. Here is an example, an example that I will also attach for you. But I highlighted PK or pre-K through 6 because this is what my standard and learning objectives are aligned to. You just simply highlight which one is best aligned to your standard and objectives. I'm going to be using the Virginia 4th grade science standard. If you are using your state standards and you want to find them, you just do a simple Google search. Let's say you live in Texas and you just put Texas state standards for learning, and you should be able to access them that way. If you decided to use the Common Core standards, you can just Google Common Core standards and again access them. And then you're going to put what your greater audience is. You're simply going to copy and paste the entire standard. Be sure that you do put the number of the standard. So this is 4.6, and this one's on weather. And like I said, you'll see a theme here for my love for science. And then you're going to develop 3 measurable learning objectives. So here I've created students will be able to explain the purpose for various meteorological tools. And if we go back to the standard, you can see how that there is alignment. So we just want to make sure that whatever we want our students to be able to do is aligned with what the standard expects them to know. So just to kind of reiterate, the standards are what the students need to know, and then the learning objectives are how we're going to get the students to understand that knowledge. So the second one is students will be able to identify the different types of clouds. And you'll notice here in parentheses, I've put what level of Bloom's each is aligned to. So again, if I go to the Bloom's wheel, let's go back to the Bloom's wheel, and I look at identify, and that falls under remembering. So that's where that is coming from. And then the third one is students will be able to demonstrate the impact that cold and warm fronts have on the weather. And this aligns with applying. And you'll see I've highlighted all my measurable terms. So make sure you do that as well. And that is pretty much it that you have to do for your week 1 assignment. But like I said, we have to make sure that we get your standard and your learning objectives solid. So please be sure that you're going back to Waypoint and watching any feedback. Videos may be provided for you as well, so that'll be found in the feedback within Canvas gradebook. Sometimes I provide video to provide a bit more clarity. But this is all that you need to do for your week 1. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'd be happy to support you further. Hope you're having a good one.